All right, so in this video, we're going to be going over the basic knockdown. This is actually the most uncommon reaction we get when playing the De La Riva guard, but it's important to understand why we would do this option, and it just gives us more insight on the weight distribution game that we're playing when we're doing the De La Riva. So my opponent's going to be standing, and I say uncommon because a good person here is very rarely just going to load all their weight on the lead leg. Usually they're trying to untangle themselves from this guard, which requires them to distribute their weight to the far leg in order to release the tension on the De La Riva hook to be able to push it off, right? But if they do, for any reason, this is great for us because they're loading their weight right where we want it to be. So when I'm playing my De La Riva guard, it's important to note that I'm putting my hook in. I'm trying to avoid being on my hip like this because it's super easy for my opponent to just straighten out their leg and pop the hook off. So we want to create some tension by turning our knee in. And we can only do that if we're more squared. Not to say that we want to be completely squared, because then it's literally physically impossible to put our hook in. So we want to be angled just enough where I can bite down with my heel and insert my hook. Okay, trying to creep up towards the groin as much as possible, turning my knee in. For now, we're working with the collar grip. I like to sit up on my elbow and hook the far leg. But of course, we can be stepping on the bicep to add an extra layer of pummeling or hand fighting here. Or we can always look to step when the opportunity arises. But for now, I'm just hooking the hip, just like so. Now for the basic knockdown, like I said, the weight's going to be on the lead leg. So what we're going to look to do is we're just going to fall back. I'm going to look to hug the leg. So my hand is creeping up towards the patella, and I'm going to look to step on the stomach to bring their hips down. Okay, come back. So there's no crazy unnecessary movement because, like I had mentioned, their weight is on the lead leg. You're going to see later on, when the situation gets a little bit more complicated, there is some extra steps that we're going to have to add in. But because the weight we feel is here, it's going to be super easy to come here, step, and invert. But now we're looking to invert as their hips are going down. So the biggest mistake I see is we allow the person to drop their hip essentially into a double pull scenario where we now have to invert after their hips are down. So I'm going to time it so that as I'm here and I feel the weight on the lead leg and I look to cup, I'm pulling myself essentially at the same time. So let's look at that again. So I'm here. I feel that the weight's on the lead leg. I'm going to look to drop back. I'm going to hug, reaching up for the patella, and I'm going to kick the stomach. All right? The reason I'm kicking the stomach is because the weight's already loaded. So the off-balancing is super easy. I just extend, and as I feel the hips fall, I'm bringing my head closer to the hip. Since I inverted before their hips got to the mat, either they're going to keep their hips off the mat, we're going to finish with a basic bolo, or they're going to concede essentially the sweep. If they concede the sweep, we can use a stacking variation. So remember, if we're going to use a stomp, we always pummel under the hips. We're going to either figure four legs, triangle our legs, or step on the ground. Lift their hips up higher, switch your hooks, and take the back. So again, playing De La Riva, the weight I feel like is in the lead leg. I'm just going to step, pull, invert. If their hips are up, we're back in basic Berimbolo territory. Adjust the bite, hook the armpit, hug the hips, catapult them forward, seatbelt, take the back. So right now, I'm grabbing the pants. We can start on the ankle. It's basically a preference here. I like to grab the pants because later on you're going to see that we can transition into different situations. But for now, we can grab either the ankle or the pants, and I'm stiff arming the neck away. The benefit of being on the collar versus the belt is that if they decide to close the space on us, we can keep them away. Sometimes we have more control of the hips when we grab the belt, but now there's nothing stopping Danny from closing the space. Okay? So that's why we prefer to grab the belt after we've off-balanced them. But because the weight's already loaded on the near leg in this case, which, like we had mentioned before, is a rare occurrence,
But when it does happen, there's no need to go for the belt. They're already basically off balancing themselves for us. So we're gonna just look to drop. I'm looking to reach my elbow around the heel, basically blocking his heel off so that he can't re-step and catch his base. Exactly. So I'm looking to basically put a wall behind his Achilles so that I can reach around and grab his up his shin bone, okay, close to his knee. Now what I'm looking to do is with this grip, I'm going to be pulling him down in a diagonal kind of motion here, basically dragging him, and my foot's also going to be doing some of the work. So as I extend my toes into the stomach and pull him, I'm going to be able to invert through. Okay? And now that foot that was across the hip, toes stepping on the stomach, transitions to the body hook so that we can now get the catapult going, take the back. All right, so we're in the De La Riva. Remember, we could be on the bicep to start, or we could be essentially putting what's a knee shield, or looks like a knee shield, but I'm hooking the ribs or the hip and just maintaining this tight position. So I'm stiff arming away, and look, I'm gonna be extending myself, collapsing into this new control where we're leg hugging. I'm gonna be now transitioning from the hip to the stomach. I'm gonna be extending both legs. So my toes kicking the stomach, and my left hook now pressing up against the hip, basically essentially lifting him off the ground. So I'm here, I'm going to be lifting and pulling, and then transitioning here. Okay, if his hips are off the ground, we're going to be looking to catapult and take the back.